Good evening, everyone. Good evening, members of the Board of Chosen Freeholders, members of the Advisory Council, fellow honorees, colleagues, friends, family members, and invited guests. When the council told me that I would have the opportunity to say a few words tonight, I thought to myself, well, let me make it interesting for everyone and make it creative. And I toyed for a while with the concept of pulling an Ellen DeGeneres move and having someone from Ott's Tavern here in nearby Delran come with a delivery guy and deliver some great wings like Ellen had at the Oscars. But the food tonight has been pretty good, and they told me I only have 3 minutes, so I better give you the Cliff Notes version of what I have to say. I am so tremendously honored and humbled and grateful for this opportunity tonight. I am grateful beyond imagination to the freeholders and to the Advisory Council for this tremendous recognition. Had someone told me 14 years ago when I was diagnosed with MS that I would be sitting here this evening with this wonderful recognition, I never would have believed it would have been possible. For 14 years ago, 2 months before my wedding at the time, as a matter of fact, a neurologist told me, "You have multiple sclerosis and you're going to be in a wheelchair in 10 years. And I looked at my watch and I thought, this is really bad timing. This is not on my 5-year plan. So MS forced me to learn very quickly the truth of the phrase that you may have heard before, that a person never knows how strong she truly is until being strong is the only option. So I refused to accept that neurologist's draconian prognosis, and I set about trying to figure out what I could do to slow down this disease or to make the neurologist's prediction not come true for myself. And in that journey, as I was trying to figure out for myself what MS was and what I could do about it in my situation, I encountered lots of people in our community, in Burlington County and the surrounding counties of New Jersey, who were tremendously impacted in their quality of life and their productivity by this disease. And what struck me in that process was the unfairness of this disease and its unpredictable, its debilitating, and its devastating effects on women. And as Joanne just mentioned, its unequal, disproportionate impact on women because the majority of MS patients are women. So as I was trying to map out my own course, I came upon this great insight from a wonderful coach from one of the greatest universities in the country, my alma mater, Notre Dame. and Coach Newt Rockney said, show me a gracious loser, and I'll show you a failure. And I decided right then and there, I was not going to be a gracious loser to multiple sclerosis. So I set about doing things like the MS Walk every year to raise money for the cure for MS. I've spoken at national MS conferences. I've served on Governor Christie's MS task force to try and improve the quality of life and productivity of people in the state. But along the way, none of these wonderful things, we've raised money and we've raised awareness, but none of those things would have been possible without the remarkable nature of human spirit. And if one other thing has impressed me in my journey with MS, it's people are, for the most part, deep down inside, really are generous. And they're kind-hearted and they want to help. And so without the generosity along the way of people wanting to help people with MS, none of this would have been possible. So I want to say thank you to Burlington County for being a community that cares about people and wants to help its residents with MS. The community hosts the MS Walk every year. And I would like to thank the Advisory Council for calling attention to these really significant, important issues. I want to thank my colleagues at Montgomery, McCracken, and Walker and Rhodes. I was diagnosed very shortly after passing the bar exam. And without my colleagues' friendship and support and encouragement and the environment they gave me over the past 14 years, none of this would have been possible. I've met many people through the years who have said to me, you can't be an attorney with MS. It's just impossible because the demands of the career and the demands of the disease each impose their own unique, rigorous obligations upon your system, and it's just not possible. And to that I say, without my friends sitting at the Montgomery McCracken table tonight, I would not be standing here today as a 14-year full-time defense litigator with multiple sclerosis, so I thank my colleagues. For me personally, the one person that I want to thank the most is the person that, I'm going to get through this without crying, who signed on for a life of all this, not knowing what it meant 14 years ago, a few weeks before our wedding. It has been my biggest cheerleader for the past 14 years. He sees the bad, the ugly, and the scary of this disease like no one else has. His policy from day one has been, you don't have MS, we have MS. And like no one else I have ever met who does not have this disease, he understands more than anyone what it means to have this disease. So, without my husband Anthony's support, his love, his understanding, and his patience, and to be honest with you, I test his patience the most. For reasons having nothing to do with MS. Without him, I would not be standing here today, either literally or figuratively. So in closing, because I'm coming up on my 3 minutes, and I had to forget my whole multimedia presentation. So in closing, I just wanted to share 2 lessons I've learned from the journey of working with and for women and others in Burlington County with MS. And those are, I'm going to leave you with these thoughts. Things are that much sweeter when you almost didn't have them. And for another member of the audience who is a family member who will right now not believe that I am quoting anyone from the sports field because I did not grow up with a sports gene in my family. In the words of former Major League Baseball pitcher Jim Abbott, who said, "It's not the disability that defines you, it's how you deal with the challenges the disability presents you with." And so I've always been determined not to let MS define me. I've been determined to try and help others also write their own definition even though they're living with MS. And so I want my definition of life with MS to include a motivation to help others with the disease and a drive to inspire others to join with me in this campaign against MS. So thank you to the board, to the advisory council, my colleagues, my friends, my husband, and everyone here tonight for inspiring me again to start the next chapter in meeting the challenges of MS. And someday, we are going to make MS stand for Mystery Solved. Thank you so much.
Kristen, I just had my second anniversary of my daughter's diagnosis, and I just want to say really genuinely inspiring, truly. Next, introducing the award recipient in the category of volunteerism.